Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Today I'll have a guest on from the New Eden's ecosystem, so stay tuned for that interview coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue our series during the Black History Month, I want to make sure that I have guests on that are indicative to Black history and things that will be helpful to all the community, not just our African American culture. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be joined by Eric Simpson, a local farmer here from New Eden Ecosystem Farms. Eric, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Alton. Thanks.
Well, you know, Eric, you and I go way back a long time. I know your mom, and
Yes.
I, helped your mom along the way in some things. I'm very happy to be able to do that. And I see now that you're giving back to the community in a way that all people can benefit from. Before we get started talking about that, Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yes, well, my name is Eric Simpson, and I am a native of LaGrange, born and raised in LaGrange, Georgia. Raised out in the county, out in Troup County in the Salem area. Then, of course, moved to the city permanently at age 4.
Okay.
Grew up educated in all of the LaGrange school systems, and was fortunate enough to stay around and attend LaGrange College. Graduated from LaGrange College. Worked here most of my life, and so I'm a native son, so to speak. And
all right.
It's been a blessing.
It's been a blessing. I know that's right. Well, Eric, I was talking about New Eden and you're a local farmer. And I can relate to that because I grew up on a farm myself out near Jones Crossroad. My stepfather, his family had land out there, and I think we had about 100 acres, and it seemed like we farmed every inch of it because we had everything from corn,
Yes.
Watermelons, the greens, the peas, all of those things. And it's so it was so much. I guess at that time it was hard work, but it was also good eating too.
Yes.
And I know that's something that you definitely know about. New Eden Ecosystem Farm. Tell me a little bit about the farm itself, first of all, if you don't mind.
Sure. New Eden Ecosystem is a small, sustainable, diverse farm.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by all of those descriptors is, of course, my farm is about 19 acres totally.
Okay.
And it consists of a 3-acre lake, pastures, and fields that I use to plant and of course produce food.
Okay.
And I also raise some small ruminants, which is small livestock. Small ruminants is a category that you classify animals that are smaller than cows and horses.
Okay.
So goats, sheep, and I also have poultry. I have pastured hens and turkeys and ducks, and so that's the overall descriptor of the farm. And I chose New Eden as the name of the farm, New Eden Ecosystem, because it is truly an ecosystem. It's not just a farm. There's woods, there's water, there's all of those things that nature creates to provide abundance and to provide symbiotic relationships with each other. And New Eden I chose was because I want to produce quality food, natural food from the earth, like it was in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. When you're talking about producing food, as I was talking about a moment ago about going out into the garden and getting those peas and shelling them. Most people probably not know that about shelling peas and stuff of that nature. But and then Mom would cook them. Man, it was just something about them. And having like yourself being raised in the country and having those fresh produce. And then moving to what we go to the market now and buy canned and everything, we definitely notice a difference. Let me ask you now, and it is an ecosystem.
Yes.
If someone was listening and wanted to kind of know a little bit more about the ecosystem and how to get involved in something like this, how can they help? How could you help them get involved, Eric?
Well, if they're interested as a customer and they're looking to source this type of food, they can simply call me, visit my website, www.newedenecosystem.com, and of course, I would be more than willing to provide this food for them as a customer. If they're interested in getting involved in perhaps maybe growing the food, or whatever the case may be, I can help them personally, but I also belong to a network of other local farmers that are farming using sustainable practices such as myself, that I can also introduce some of those resources to them.
Okay, very good. Now, and I just want to kind of get in and talk about the ecosystem and the 19 acres that you actually use as your farm and garden and things of that nature. How do you prepare the soil and things like that, probably different from what other farmers have done in the past?
Yes, I use sustainable practices.
Okay.
I am, of course, one of these farmers that believe in using what you have on the land to enhance what you produce as far as food is concerned.
Okay.
Nothing synthetical, nothing chemical related. All of the farming, it's regenerative, and it's eco-friendly.
Okay.
Of course, I incorporate the use of animals, their byproducts, certain crops and their process and products, the water on the farm, rain, and pretty much all of the natural elements, all of the leaves, the debris, brush, pine straw, whatever that
Just
I can find on the
everything,
farm to enhance my soil's fertility.
Okay.
And then that yields this high quality food that people are looking for.
Okay. And a lot of times, you hear people say, well, we're in Georgia and we have that Georgia red clay. And I can remember back in the days when my stepfather would till the soil, and we didn't have the red clay. We actually had a good, mixture. You would do some composting and various things of that nature. And every year, man, like I said, we had abundance of crop there. We could feed the entire community. And let me ask the question, because your products are more of the organic in nature, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Talk about the difference of the organically grown product versus the conventional, if you don't mind.
And first, and I'll also say, the term organic is a certification. So there's limited applications where you can legally use the term organic.
Okay.
Because I'm not certified yet, I use the term sustainable and non-GMO and pesticide free. But those practices are pretty much sustainable as far as being regenerative and replenishing the soil and things of that nature. The whole objective is to put back nutrients. As you grow food, as your ruminants and your livestock graze, of course, you're taking away nutrition. You're taking away some of the nutrients.
Okay.
And conventional systems for years have depleted the nutrient base in the soil. If you go back to big corn and big cotton, those crops absorb a lot of the nitrogen and nutrients in the soil.
Okay.
But these practices attempt to replenish some of the nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium and a lot of the trace minerals that are taken out of the soil. So that's what this practice attempts. It attempts to mimic what happens in the natural system. If you are on a savanna in Africa, you notice all of the larger animals, the elephants, the the giraffes, then they will graze, and of course, and they will excrete their waste products, and then of course you'll have the smaller animals to come behind them. They will graze, and then of course you'll have the birds to come and kind of clean up, scratch, and and of course and redistribute some of the manure, for lack of a better term, to replenish the soil. And so the practices of organic, certified, naturally grown, sustainable, they attempt to mimic those natural systems.
Okay, man, that's an educational lesson within itself. But then too, and then now, because I want to get to talking a little bit about some of the meats that you grow there as well. During this time of the year, and today particularly, as we're under heavy rain, how does rain impact the soil, or does it impact the soil? Because I know a lot of when you have the washing rain, it tends to wash away. How does that impact, or how does it help?
Rain is mostly a good thing for farmers. There's not a farmer that doesn't welcome rain.
That's right. Even the abundance of it, I guess, sometimes,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. But too much of anything obviously can have a disastrous effect. So we've been getting a lot, but for my farm it hasn't been too much, and it's all relative. It all depends on your land, the characteristics of your land. Are you sloped? Are you flat? Are you bowed? Does your soil drain well? And so if you got root crops, or if you got seeds and you're getting a lot of rain, you're more at risk than if you don't have anything planted, or if you got young stands of plants that may have the durability to withstand a lot of the washing. So it varies, but for the most part, general rule of thumb, rain is always welcome.
Right.
Yes, rain is always welcome.
Okay, well, very good. I want to just talk a little bit now about some of the things that you actually grow there, Eric, because I know the people probably, and I know they see these eggs that sitting here. Just kind of, I know that back in November you all had a farmer's market, and there was various things that you all had there. Now, during the spring of the year, what are some of the crops that you're producing now?
Spring of the year is pretty much where we're carrying over some of the items that we grew in the fall, such as your leafy greens, some of your earlier greens, such as lettuces. You can start some early tomatoes, some early peas, things of that nature, such as sugar snap peas, things of that nature. I grow a lot of those things.
Okay.
And you can, and even some of your root vegetables, such as onions and some early potatoes and things of that nature, is what I typically produce in the spring, heading into the summer.
Oh, okay, very good. You know, and again, I know that instantly people can tell the difference between the products that you are producing and then some of the things that we can go to. They're not knocking those things, because we lived off of those, but and we want to come back in a moment or two after a break here and get into talking about some of the meats and stuff that you produce as well as some of the eggs here. And then we kind of want to tie all this in relationship to a noted individual that studied over at Tuskegee University and really expound a lot on not only just the peanut, but a number of other products that we're still using today.
Yes.
So if you don't mind, Eric, I'm going to take a short commercial break and come back, and we'll talk more about your farm and also an extension that you belong to as well, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment.
At LaGrange College, you'll find your professors to be encouragers, trusted role models, mentors. Discover learning relationships that transform at one of the South's most affordable, highly ranked institutions. Challenging minds, inspiring souls, transforming lives. Discover more at lagrange.edu/transform.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're sitting down today with Eric Simpson, local farmer here from New Eden Ecosystem Farm. Eric, I want to start back out. You were talking about something I wanted to ask, not to get too much into it.
Sure.
You were talking about, you use the term sustainable versus organic, and you were telling me a little bit about the difference in that. Now, not to insult anybody, but if someone was going to the market and they wanted to make sure that they were getting authentic organic food, what is some of the things they can look for?
The first thing you want to look for is the seal.
Okay.
It's the USDA seal, United States Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
They are the ones that own the term organic
Okay.
in the United States. So for it to be deemed organic, it has to have, and to be deemed and to be authentically certified, the USDA seal is, you'll see it on coffees if you're trying to purchase organic coffee.
Okay.
You will see it on some of your canned products if you're trying to purchase some of those items.
Okay.
And if you're looking on, you may not see it on your vegetables, but one way you can notice on your vegetables, you may not see the seal, but on the barcode, there's your conventional foods, the barcodes will have 4 digits, but your organic foods will have 5 digits, and it will start with a 9.
Oh, okay.
with a 9.
Okay.
So if you go in the produce section and you see organic, you look on the barcode, make sure there's a 9 that precedes the numbers, and it should be 5 digits.
Okay, very good. Now, and I know that a lot of people, myself, I have not really, indulged a lot of the organic products. Is there a difference that people will notice, or is there a difference that you have noticed, Eric, I should say?
Me, yes.
Okay.
But of course, it varies from person to person. But me, yes, that was what sold me on adopting this lifestyle and growing this type of food, because I noticed a difference. It's more flavorful to me.
Okay.
Of course, which is, to me, that's a better quality. Of course, we eat food for taste and for nutrition, but of course, so the answer for me is yes, but some other person, it may or may not.
So it's to each his own,
Yes.
right? Absolutely. Now, Eric, you are part of a bigger organization that really, I guess, has kind of spearheaded a lot of these things and kind of got you involved. And
Yes.
that's the West Georgia Farmers Cooperative. Talk a little bit about that for me, if you don't mind.
Yes, this is a very proud historical organization. The West Georgia Farmers Cooperative started in Hamilton, Georgia in 1966, initially called the Harris County Cooperative. And of course, this was an organization that was formed by farmers in this community, just average, everyday, hard-working farmers. This group had about 75 farms and farm families, and they pooled their resources. They bought property, they bought a building, they bought equipment to share. They aggregated their produce and was able to access larger markets. Not only that, they practiced which is the larger principle, cooperative economics, which enabled them to purchase gas stations. At one point, this organization had 3, back then they called them filling stations, but they had gas stations back then. They built houses. They had a mill to grind their own grain to feed their own livestock that they would purchase from themselves. They even had a trailer park, believe it or not.
Oh my.
And of course, and they were instrumental in building a nursing home in Harris County that still exists today.
Okay.
So they started cooperative economics in this area, little Harris County.
Harris County?
Yes.
All right.
And this organization still stands today. And of course, members like myself and a few of the people that are still involved, a few of the farmers in particular, organization is still pretty significant. We're trying to rebuild some of that work of those elders.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the brochure that you gave me. It's 50 years and still growing.
Yes.
And then your mission here says to rebuild the small farms and the agriculture infrastructure of our local communities by producing and offering sustainable grown food, which is both accessible and affordable. Talking about affordability, because I know when we talk about food and we talk about flavorful food, as you mentioned a moment ago, a range of pricing, how much, versus your conventional, pretty competitively as far as price concerned?
Well, it's starting to kind of, the gap is, I would say, is probably shrinking a little bit.
Okay.
And there's a reason for that, because to grow organic or any type of food sustainably, the growing practices is very labor intensive. And of course, it requires a lot of inputs. And so, and the farms are smaller, so you don't have the advantage of scale like you would have on your conventional farms.
Okay.
So you will pay more for organic foods because it's considered more of a premium product. And of course, and the input cost justifies it, because there's not a lot of commodities. I mean, there's not a lot of benefits out there as far as government government payoffs and things of that nature, government subsidies, I should say, for small and organic and sustainable farmers. Most of those subsidies are for your larger commodity producers, your peanuts, your soy, your corn, your sorghum, your wheat.
Absolutely. And that's so interesting. And that you're mentioning soybean, wheat and things of that nature, that my mind goes back, as we started out earlier, as we are talking about Black History Month and how sustainability and affordability, my mind goes to Tuskegee and Dr. George Washington Carver, who experimented with the peanut, the soybean, and just a plethora of other products and everything, things that we're still using here today. Do you also use some of those practices that Dr. George Washington Carver used?
Yes, Dr. Carver gets most of his credit and his acclaim from his work with peanuts, soybeans, and even some degree sweet potatoes. Brilliant man, quite a genius. But what he sometimes doesn't get much credit for, he doesn't get the credit for being a pioneer of this movement of this sustainable grown food, you know, that we call organic, certified, naturally grown, sustainable. He was one of the forerunners. His practices encouraged this industry. He experimented with the composting, the cover cropping, you know, planting, you know, which we also call green manures, where you plant your rye, your hairy vetch, those nitrogen fixing crops that put nitrogen in the soil prior to your planting to give the soil a boost. He did a lot of work around with those practices that led to what we're doing today. And of course, other guys came along later, like Mr. Rodell, and some of those other people followed him. But he sometimes he's sometimes overlooked for this particular practice.
Absolutely. You know, I was over at Tuskegee not long ago and visited the museum, and you know, I would say have a couple of days if you want to, you know, take it all in, because when you really get there and you start seeing some of the things that he definitely kind of influenced, even pigment and paints. You know, it's overwhelming to think of all the things that he kind of endeavored in that we are still using here today. Let me ask you now, because I know the audience have been seeing these eggs here for quite some time sitting there. So you do raise poultry that are egg producing. These products are for sale at your location?
Yes, you can. I sell eggs.
Okay,
as well.
All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, in talking about eating here, I don't want to get hungry, but free-range chicken. Explain a little bit about, because you were telling us when we first started, you have some that are for eating purposes and then you have some for the laying purpose. Talk a little bit about the free-range chicken for us, if you don't mind.
Free-range is just like the term implies. They are not caged, they are not confined. They have free roam of the farm. Okay. And of course, they have homes for protection should they need be, but there's enough protection out there to kind of keep them safe. So, but the benefits of a free range poultry is the fact that the birds love it because it's in their natural environment. In nature, birds scratch, claw, peck. They eat insects. They eat worms, and of course, they eat grass. And of course, and this makes its way to their products. Grass gives you your omega-3s. Green grass gives you your omega-3s, which are healthy for you. And so by having those, it goes back to the saying, not only you are what you eat, but you are what you eats. So that's one of the benefits of having free range, is because the birds are healthier, they enjoy it, they're not stressed, they're not confined, and they're able to do what they naturally do. And so you get what they naturally can produce for you.
Absolutely. And I know that as we were talking about Black History Month, I know that when things kind of evolved, the African Americans were farming the lands, we seem to move away from that. Why is it so important that we get back to that heritage of farming the land? Why, in your opinion?
Well, number one, you want to have your own safe, stable, clean, fresh food supply when possible. And African Americans over the years is starting to trend better. And they're starting to trend upward, but farmland loss was horrific. We were losing acres and millions of acres of land per year. We are only still less than 2% of farmers in America today, even though that's an improvement from 10, 15 years ago, but we're still less than 2% of farmers today. And it's important to note that we came here as slaves for the purpose of be farmers, to work the land. And after slavery, some of our families were blessed to stay on the land that their ancestor worked in. In some cases, the old plantation owner either sold them the land, or gave them the land, or allowed them to work for it. And as you know, land is a valuable asset, and it's one of the most consistent forms of wealth, and one of the easier forms of wealth that you can pass along that doesn't necessarily lose value over the years, and in many cases it gains values, and you can pass it on for countless generations.
Absolutely.
One of our farms, sixth generation of their farm was just like the example that I gave you, was a slave, and of course the owner, because land had no value if there wasn't any labor slaves attached to it in many cases. So they were given land, and of course, and they were able to farm and make a living, feed themselves, and continue that and pass that wealth on generation after generation. So it's important for those particular reasons.
Okay, very good. Well, Eric, as we get ready to close out, I know that you have an upcoming event that you want to definitely invite the public out to. If you do that, and also give your contact information if somebody wanted to come out to visit the farm, purchase items there. So tell us about the event coming up next on Wednesday, first of all, and how people get involved, and then give them your contact information.
Yes. On February the 10th, which is next Wednesday, West Georgia Farmers Cooperative, we're hosting our second annual Small Farm and Agricultural Workshop. This will be held at the Callaway Conference Center on the campus of West Georgia Tech on Fort Drive. This event will start at 8 a.m. and it will last all day till about 5 p.m. There's a $25 admission fee, but it's open to the public. So if you're a person that's interested in learning about backyard gardening, if you're more technical, you want to know how to prepare healthy soils, if you're interested in where you can source a lot of this local, sustainably grown, even certified organic food from, there's a cooperative grocery store that's going to be there presenting. A plethora of experts in a lot of different areas, farmers markets, bees and pollination. So we invite you to join us in helping us to continue to build the local food infrastructure here in our respective communities.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you. I mean, there's so much information. We could talk on and on and on. I definitely want to come out to the farm, and as I stated, I want to start at least trying some of the sustainably grown products as well, just so that I can, for myself, experience the difference. Having been grown up on a farm, I already kind of have an idea, but I'm gonna see if it's still about the same. So awesome. Eric, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today and sharing this wealth of information, and hopefully the viewing audience will definitely come out to the event on the 10th, and as well go out and visit Eric on his farm, New Eden Ecosystem Farms in Hamilton, Georgia. Right?
No, I'm in West Point.
In West Point, Georgia, that's right,
Troup
West
County.
Point, Troup County. All right, well, Eric, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining the City Week this week. My guests have been Eric Simpson from the New Eden Ecosystems Farm in West Point, Georgia, Troup County. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed that interview as he talked about sustainability versus some conventional foods, and you might want to just give it a try. Also, he invited all of you out to an event that's going to be taking place on February 10th out at the Callaway Educational Center. So by all means, go out. You might just pick up a few growing tips. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed these interviews, and as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.
Just what you're looking for. You'll find it in one of the 28 shops in downtown LaGrange. Remember old school customer service? It's still here. Not to mention that perfect gift. That's the beauty of downtown LaGrange. So come on down.